is not on. Now
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
on.
Okay. Now, since the recording has started, it is imperative from our legal standpoint to state that any recording, if shared with you, which has Verint's demonstration and presentation in it, is Verint's intellectual property and may not be stored for more than 30 days.
Absolutely.
Okay, with that caveat out of the way, just going back to where I was. This is the mechanism that we are going to follow in a sequence. Now, coming back to the page where I was, I have two environments. One environment is here. Let me go to the dashboard. Generally, what happens is if you are a line manager or a person manager, you will notice that one of the things people generally ask for is a status page at a daily level, intraday level as well, which tells me who are my individuals who are logged in. As you can see on top, Joanne is supposed to work, logged in, is green. Jeff Bristol is supposed to be logged in but isn't, hence is red. So we can see the work status irrespective whether the employees are working in office or working from home. Wherever they're working, they're logged in, their status is being tracked. We are also able to visualize that whether the work which we are looking at, how much is the work which has been allocated, how much work has been brought in. But this is at a high level. I'm going to zoom down to it. I'm going to actually jump to the other environment. Yeah. So in this, what you can see is that once I'm on the US domestic business, I have people who are logged in. I can also see that there are a certain number of cases which have been allocated. I can see how many cases have been allocated, 105 out of 124. And most interestingly, cases due today remaining are 73 because 105 have been done. 73 are cases that'll be due today remaining. Which are the processes due today? There are 87 processes. The cases outstanding net is 158. Doesn't matter how much is net outstanding because the target for the day is decided based on the SLA. So I will keep getting work, but if I have a turnaround time of 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, then outstanding cases we know. But and that's just kept there so that we know the forest, but we are focused on the trees. Which particular trees are we going to look at today and harvest today? Most
So how difficult it is to correct these widgets and define the metrics from the backend? Is it flexible or it requires every time a kind of a small development efforts, or it's a pre-built kind of a solution, drag and drop, that
it's
kind of a solution?
it's a configurable solution which is in the system section here.
Great.
Here we
Yeah,
define what are
got
the
it.
tasks, what are the processes, everything. I'm logged in as an admin, so I am able to show that. Otherwise, normal person who logs in will
Will
not
not
be
be
able
in.
to see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Got it.
Okay, let me refresh this and show you what happens when I log in while that comes up. So most interesting element in this is, which is the basic science at the back as well. But let me come to that. It is also showing me the availability density. Actually, it's a non-working day for the environment that I'm looking at. US is eminently not working. Everything is available. Everything is green. Never the case. Never the case. There will be certain red. क्यों मुझे टीम में नहीं जाने दे रहा है? 1 second.
Uh, was that an hourly distribution, Sunil? If what you're showing, like
No, this is for the day. This is till
day.
now. Okay. Generally, a admin or a manager perhaps may not log into that. They like to log into this. In that, I was seeing the circle. They're very fancy for a demonstration. But a team leader or a soup generally prefers this. It tells them my planned hours were so many, available hours are remaining only X amount. These are the work items which I was supposed to cover. This has been done. What is the effectiveness standard of my team? Not too great. Earned hours doing well. Effectiveness actual is pretty good, which means my delivery with quality is great. We'll see quality coming into play. I can also see which individual has given me how much time available, unavailable, everything in detail. That is very pictorial, very fancy, looks good for demonstration, but most TLs will land up only have this page and they will look at it. How many outstanding hours are remaining for me? Yani mere paas 10 people are there or 20 people are there or 30 people are there. I have X amount of work. How much is to be completed? Because remember on this screen, one of the most important element which I want to narrate is, although I'm seeing 105 work items allocated, what is more important is the time required to finish it, right? Because the analogy, if not analogy, the case is for different health codes, the time required is different. You cannot say that I have 100 work items, I have 10 people, I will distribute 10 to each. You cannot.
Right.
For two reasons. Reason number one, every work item takes different time. Number two, they may have a different SLA. And number three, employees' proficiency against that is different. So the engine in real time has to look at these elements and distribute. But it also knows what is the strength at the back. So if I roll back, oh, come on. I hate this pop-up on top, which comes up. You can't see it, but I can see this is the Teams pop-up, which takes away my tabs on top.
True.
Oh, God. Let me pull this and go back. So my other element would be when I'm looking at it is, what is my plan looking like? Plan is, how does my capacity impact look like today? I'm seeing that this being first hour of the day, hours versus demand. Right now, demand is higher. Outstanding standard hours are higher, but I think plan wise, they will peter down over the next few days because we have done capacity at the back. What I can also see is the aging analysis. Aging analysis is primarily, I would say, designed for where the turnaround times are more than 1 day, 2 days, I would say, because then the work, they say trees get lost in the forest. There are certain work items which are parked and never picked up because of the engine's, non availability or person not being there if you're managing it manually. Here, we can see there are certain work items which are 1 hour old, 2 hours old, 4 to 5 hours old, and over 10 hours. 10 hours का मतलब आपने service level breach कर लिया. Could be days as well. Depends on the process. And 6 to 10 is here. This, I would say, is a very optimal process, capacity wise. Why? Most of the work is being conducted in a zone which is just right in time, just in time.
Correct. Okay. So this again, all these calculations and all has been done considering the cases which I am pre-processing and then doing a call out and then doing an activity after the call out. This covers all the three activities, right? All these calculations or measurements.
Great point. Great point. So I was showing you this flow chart. Basically,
Right.
what happens in this flow is that once the work has been allocated based on the skill after prioritization, skill and proficiency, we do a quality checkup.
Right.
Now, this may be a quality check or it may go to the next stage. It may be one task in a larger workflow. Correct? I did something, Bala does something, then it goes to quality.
Right.
Or it could be a maker checker, which means
Right.
100% of this will go to quality before it is thought as completed and you get real-time information. And this, of course, means I get a capacity view. That's what I was narrating to you earlier, which
Right.
means this could have been one work stream within your
Right.
value chain. In your value chain, this is the master SLA, and every task or a work stream within that value chain could have been one SLA point. We optimize for this value, this SLA, move it to the next stage. Again, it'll be prioritized here. Why? You may say, because the aging affects different work codes differently. I did it in time here, but by the time it reaches here, this capacity of this team may be poor. Correct? which means it will, as it is aging in the queue, it will get prioritized differently and allocated. So, but we, in essence, what we are doing is we are also doing line management. The system says you have lesser capacity here. Why do you have more people here? Correct? So the line balancing comes into play as well. And that's primarily what we are doing in a nutshell when we look at this particular operational parameter. When I see for my team, I may be interested only in my team. I'm a TL. I have a work team who's working on a task. I just want to see how I am progressing on it. But the target in such cases should be, my target is to complete it between 4 and 5 hours and not 6 to 10 hours. BPOs typically tell us it should be between 5 to 6 hours or 7 to 8 hours. Why? I'm doing it in just in time. That's what my SLA is. Why should I do it early on? I don't get paid extra for that. So the work should be allocated just in time. And that's why holding the work in the queue and allocating becomes important. Most prior items are going through SLA is, as a work item enters your organization, it gets a time to complete. Time to complete as in, it will put a timestamp, it has to be completed before that. And it knows the time required to finish it, the quality time on it, and accordingly it allocates. That's the engine's logic. Now, if I was to look at it from a allocation perspective, the allocations perspective is you will see the demand and supply as well. And TLs prefer this as well, because same view, but with now the work indexes in it, not just the summary of work. I can see Brandon is working, Jeff Bristol is working, Sunil Aryan or Nick Career has I'm logged in is not working because I'm an admin. I'm only a demonstrator, but I keep allocating work to myself just to show on demonstration how it runs and the disaster that happens. Every 10 item that you have seen is above SLA is basically the work that I allocated to myself. Now, what you will see in this is there are certain items which are already being alerted as pending. These are now top priority, which will be allocated. How does the engine work? I can't show you that, but let me show you the I would say manual way of it. I pick up this work item. Okay. Standard hours on this is 11 minutes. 11 minutes mein khatam karna hai. Whoever does this. That's the standard time. I try allocating to John Brandon. You will see the number 1 there. Can you see next to 1 more? There, it shows the number 1. Right? I tried giving it to system administrator. It says you cannot. Because system administrator, you see the point 3 over there?
Right.
The 1 has changed to 3. If I give to Nick, same 3. Usha, 1. Love, yeah, I can allocate because the person works, but skill the point is 3. And just keep that in mind, and I'll show you why. And it says you cannot give to any one of these. You cannot give to Ashish Pillai. You can give it to Karthik, but Karthik is 3. Sanjay is 1. And that's the allocation logic. Let me show you what it means. Let's go to Jeff Bristol and see the, oops, sorry. Let's go to Usha maybe and show skills. This is the matrix of skills, which means if I am on 3, I am the most competent for that. Which means I will finish it in standard time or less. So the first preference for the system is to give it to an individual who has 3 skills on it, not 1. 1 implies I'm newly trained, which means I might take 30% more time than normal. Which means newly trained employee is only 0.7 FTE.
Right.
And that is what this engine tries to do. Not only does it do priority, its first logic is to give it to an individual who has the most proficient skill level on it, so that it can be done in shorter time than longer time. If the person is not there, depending on the priority, it will go to the next required supervision or newly trained. That's how it will run. Okay. And if Sunil, let's say the standard time was 10 for the sake of conversation and ease of conversation, let's say 10 minutes. Standard time is 10 minutes. Sunil can do it in 10 minutes. Bala will do it in 13 minutes because he's new. Correct? And the system
Correct.
knows how many new are there, how many old are there, and that's how the capacity is managed. But if Bala finishes it in 13 minutes, it will say the person has performed well. Important. Sunil does it with more than 10, will be marked that he has not done well. So the measurement of individual proficiency versus the throughput is based on their current skill metrics.
Makes sense.
Right? Now, this, of course, there are many reference rules which you can set within the system. There is a complete skill matrix within the system. You can upload is using an Excel file and finish it off. And because there could be many skills. The reference rules can also be whether there is a journal type, is it critical, non-critical, what happens if it is critical, historical skills which are in the system, who gets allocated what. You will allocate from the skill pool that you have. And there are other parameters that you may say get next or enable automatic get next. We want automatic get next, which means
Right.
I finish one, I get the next one. I finish one, I get the next one.
Okay. Yeah. So here, this is not only restricted to the calls, or it could be the cases as well. The cases which he works out of.
This is primarily for cases. Calls will be anyway when we are generating outbound calls. They are basically a bunch of work item that will be generated.
Right.
However, if it is a inbound call, then it has a life of its own. It forces it on yourself. However, if I wanted to do this in a proper manner, I would say for every queue type, there is a different set of rules, different set of skills, and different kind of matrices. You can do it for any one of them. That's the logic at the back, which means we are able to abide by this, which means when the system runs, not only is it able to do the skill allocation, now we are going to look at the real-time data that it provides. What is the life of an employee? What is the life of a, I would say, a supervisor? You've seen supervisors, and we'll see what the admins see, what do the data points they see. So if I was to go back to this page, I can also see this, and I can also go back to the dashboard and show you KPI. KPI is primarily the performance indicators. These are indicators which are updated every 15-minute interval. Imagine this data, you getting it at a 15-minute interval. What is my throughput cycle? What is my effectiveness? What are my service levels being met percentage-wise? What is the capability? Capability is my team has new hires. My capacity is low. My capability is low.
Capability is low.
And the measurement should be in comparison to my capability.
Right.
Okay. How much FTEs am I carrying? Oh, so those parameters get updated in real time. You can do comparison. I can bring domestic plus US domestic enterprise operations. No, that's payments. Yeah. I can add Singapore to it and UK to it. Which means as a business line manager, you can see the comparison of how those 2-3 teams which are spread across globally working for you. Locations, you would say. Which team is doing better? If you have a center in Manila tomorrow, God willing, Manila mein to flood जाने का season आ गया है. Now summer will start, rains will come, everything gets flooded. You will have huge challenges there. You will see that if the FTEs are moving, they're working from home, the work is not getting allocated properly. Should I move those work items to India? So you will not have to do it because the system will just hunt out wherever the skills are. But group performance still matters because it shouldn't happen because it's a global queue and people are logged into it wherever they are. Doesn't matter. You still want to visualize how those, my administratively divided units work. You can see all of that parameters here as well. Yeah. Similarly, I can see for aging. These bell graphs now matter. Yes, sorry, you have a question.
Yeah, so just a word of caution. For the interest of time, we have another 30 minutes. So in that 30 minutes, I would like to see the features. Of course, I understand this from the back office or the administration or the workflow manager, that kind of a features. The next 30 minutes, if you're okay, we could focus on the features which helps the agent on the call or on the work. What are those kind of a features? So that that will be get recorded in the conversation. That will be where our patient touch point experiences really matter. So we would like to see that features. Sorry if I'm cutting off your flow.
No, no, no. I thank you for that, because anyways, I'm ending this section. Is that here we are now going to look at how the work arrives. The bell curve on this case is on the left hand side, not on the right hand side, correct? Which makes it very, I would say, inefficient in a manner, because I'm doing everything before time, in a sense. So, but I'm chosen all the process points across the globe on it. If I can focus on certain ones, I will be able to get that better. The last item in this is for this payments process, which are the individuals who are logged in and what is their productive toss. You may want that. You may want to know how much time production related, collaboration related, administration related. Why? Because many people these days report, oh, but I was on a call, internal call. Or after COVID, internal calls have gone up too much, honestly. From 8:30 in the morning till our call started, I was on internal calls. Waste of time, right? And but it's a fact of life. The person can say that I logged in, but I spent so much time in collab. You want to understand those as well. These are done using monitoring of the desktop. And we roll out everything of it, every bit of it, into what you may term as employee performance. Not the performance of the process itself, but the performance at a individual level. I can see how was the employee utilization, effectiveness, and I can also visualize at a individual level, which actually contributes to the organization level. Individual performance points contribute to that. But more importantly, your employee can see their own performance. If I log in as just saying, I will see this performance. I will see that my effectiveness is not too good, that my planned availability is far too low. My utilization is very high. Why? Because I don't work long hours. This primarily implies I don't work long hours, but whatever time I work in a crunch mode. But that's not what we need. We have work which needs to be done within time. You cannot say I finished my 10 widget targets for the day. This person is underutilized, probably tenured. That's what you get to know from it. Now I need to manage my time better. I can log into e-learning or a coaching session and improve myself. So we want the tool not to be only from management perspective, but also from employees perspective. They should know how much time they have during the day. And just to cut it short, even when I do work, there are two ways. And this is my natural segue to the other piece of the solution is when I log in, I get to see how many work items I have. What is my target for the day? How much I'm going to do? This is the modern interface. How much target that I have, how much work I need to do, how much is the completions I've done. So I may start my day saying you have 8.5 hours to go and 13 work items to be done. But after 4 hours, it may say your target for the day is 10. Why? Because the 4 or 5 items that I did earlier were so complex, they took more time. My number of work items changes as your target for the day. And it says you need to complete next 10 items, 6 items within X number of hours. So they need all the time. They can also contribute, and when they finish the work, they can enter the codes in it. This is again configurable. What was the cause? Why did I do it? What is the element of it? Because what I enter here may decide whether the work goes to next stage or goes to quality. Makes sense, right? Because if I have finished work, it can go to quality. If I had just done one task within the workflow, it will not go to quality, it will go to next stage. But again, the code here might decide to which team member it goes. So for example, I've rejected a claim. In claims processing and insurance, it happens I rejected a claim. It will go for check. But I approved, it will also go for check. But before it goes to check, it might go to an assessor. We'll look at the tally of the amount which has to be paid out. I've done my underwriting, I've done all of that, but the person just does a quick check and says these are the items and this is the amount of money we will pay on it. And then it goes to a quality check, so that is super clear and it goes out. So depending on what I've put up the disposition, the workflow can change. This is employee interface. And this is also part of the solution. And this is my segue into the other part. And by the way, the entire workflow can be designed here within the solution itself. Okay. With that, I'll jump to the other solution that we were talking about. And why is my escape not working on it? Did I do something? And the click is not working on it? Got it. Okay. This being one example. The other was that we were talking about when an individual patient comes to the hospital. Remember that piece of conversation as well?
Absolutely.
That is what we do via what is termed as Qdini. Qdini is one of the acquisitions. It is where when I want to log into, if I log into the queue, you will see all the branches, individuals who are being allocated will be listed here. Their availability, of course, will not be always available. They will not always be available, but you get the sense of it. There is a roster which will be shown here. There will be a possibility for me to define what kind of work they do. In this case, let's say this individual will do orchestration alone, but he's already working on it for 1 minute on this and is ready, actually busy in that. If there are work, I can also see the calendars within the system. Client has or you would say the patient will have a very different experience. This is internal experience. Right. This is where we know who's available on which day, what time, what is their rosters. Basis that the capacity is known and the patients are accepted.
Correct.
That is the front end of it.
There could be a lot of categorization we can bring in, like this is a physician or a specialist. All that categorization we can bring in the advisor category you are having, right?
Absolutely. Like I said, what products this individual does, I've given a walk-in product.
Right. I can label this into the hospital environment, which I would like to keep that queue names, specialist names, and all that categories.
Entirely configurable. Interaction inside, fraud and security, but these are something we as a demo system, but you could say this person does these items.
Right, absolutely.
So when and the time taken on each one of them is different. Right. What is the standard time on each one of them? So I do 4 types. I will be allocated, but everything has a standard time on it. Absolutely. Otherwise, you can't do capacity, as you can realize.
Understood. Yeah. Because sometimes somebody may be a full-time employee, sometime maybe a specialist visiting for a few hours. All that dependencies will be there in the hospital. So that has to be a configurable thing.
Correct. Now, the same solution has a higher, I would say, flavor to it as well. And this basically stems from our, what you may term as engagement management platform, as we call it. Right. Engagement management is basically when the view has to be CRM driven. Then this is the approach we take. This is inlaid CRM, where we say this is designed from what we call as service CRM perspective. If I'm making calls, I should know the association of that customer with us. Absolutely. I've used a banking scenario, but in your case would be what is the person? Is he old, young? as a health issue, what were the past interactions, what were the past cases as well.
Exactly.
Okay. And this becomes the CRM screen where everything gets embedded. Transactions can highlight the urgency as well. So, for example, somebody has used the app of the Apollo Hospital, and because they have an app, and on Apollo Hospital, I say that I have a somebody has entered Hoga nahi, but somebody has said I have a fracture. I met with an accident. I have a fracture coming to following branch.
Following
That's a
branch.
emergency. Somebody calls up that individual and says, "Are you, sir? Do you need a ambulance?" Person says, "No, my brother is driving me. He's the one who is interacting." The brother says, "I'm the one who is doing it from the app. I'm just informing you. I'm going to this branch. I'm driving now." And the person says, "Okay, we know that you have a policy with us. This is the one." Udini kicks in and we allocate which individual will work on. Come to this desk, sir. Dr. So-and-so will meet you. We can go to that extent with this. Now, we know that I'm using healthcare scenario. The injury to the knee was severe. We know the person will be on crutches forever. How does that impact your future plans? That's what the CRM will have to figure out. The data entry points will have to figure out. So we know that the individual's experience right now is very good, as you can see, from poor to excellent, because the person feels that I did it on the app, somebody called me and this worked out, for example. I can also see that the person had a recent contact in this case. Recent contact is from the app. And in this case, of course, it's a card scenario that there is a payment reminder and card activation required, etc. And there could be scenarios where when we say that, "Arey, somebody called my call center and I picked up the phone in 10 seconds, 20 seconds." What do you say? SLA met, correct?
Yes,
I am supposed to answer 80-20. I picked up the call in 12 seconds. My SLA is met. But for the individual who's calling, the SLA is not met. Why? I'm calling you for the third time. I was with your chatbot.
right.
How has the SLA been met? We cannot internalize those SLA points in our minds. What is an SLA? The person's problem got resolved, sir, in time. And you can tie it to that. Now you get that concept that we had those 4 or 5 stages. If everything is not done in time, then we have breached the SLA. You can set it up according to this case as well.
Yeah.
And
So the
this
engagement score comes into the play. The
absolutely,
patient engagement score and the touch points which we are having. So it's starting from not only from the calls or a chat or it's in website or whatever it is. So where exactly what point in time he got connected and the resolution provided to him.
absolutely, absolutely. And there is a sequence of events which can be stored in the system. And the summary is not only for this call, it is for what the interaction was in the past. There are other components which can go into this, like speech analytics. Depends on the size. I mean,
Right.
capability wise, it exists, but if somebody says we have only 5 agents, speech analytics doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make
So,
sense.
because speech analytics, what it can do is categorize emotion of the customer, categorize the quality, categorize all of those elements automatically. That is an important criteria that in real time we could manage. And what you see on the right hand side is knowledge. That's an add-on, very clear. If a specific type of a process is going on, the employee can be given a SOP to go through or knowledge articles to say this is what this is about. If somebody is asking this, please only provide this document. For example, paying your credit card bill, how do I pay money into my ISA? All these are help directly pertaining to the transaction going on, right? And
Right.
this case management can be done across channels. Across channels. I can do it on chat. Okay. Chat itself can drive the knowledge and everything. I can do it on emails. If you want me to do it on emails, it can be done on emails. It can voice ka to humne dikhai diye. That can be done. The channels are actually on top, as you see on the top hand side, right corner. I'm saying I'm not available, but the moment I go available, phone, email, chat, social media, everything comes into play.
Everything comes into
Depends on my skill.
Right.
Right. So this is our channel management strategy. If channels are not there, we go with only back office. If channels are there, then we bring in case management. It is case management includes CRM in it. Work allocation does not include CRM in it.
So in our scenario, if you ask me, CRM is a separate component, case management is a separate component, and the call management is a separate component. So we need to define, that's where I was talking about arms. So where we will create those channels and wherein can have an interface from that channel and then handle all these.
Becomes
Similar.
master layer. Master layer.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah, you may say in a sense it is also a unified desktop. It is also a case management story, and it can manage, but it can actually create the cases within the system. You can design the flows. This type of case, these are the step points. These type of case, these are the step points.
Makes sense.
If I finish, where does it go? If I don't finish, where does it go? All of that can be part of the game. And this can be, again, this is, I would say, agnostic to the interface. It can be on pads. The activities can be from customer perspective. It can be like, this is somebody going on Whitley group, somebody going to the website of the individual. They're doing visits. That can be done on this as well. They say, this is what your visits for the day are. You have visited them. What are the two people that you're visiting? You met two people, person visit. What is the information that you entered? So if you have employees going to that page, customers as well, healthcare professionals, they can use this at the front end as well. So it is not that we lock ourselves, and I keep repeating, we do not lock ourselves in any area. We can say, here it is, we can go there to that stage. This is their insurance organization. They also do for health. They do it for, US. If I'm doing an assessment, I will say they're a smoker, non-smoker home or a smoking person. Smoking person means that chances of fire at home are higher, health issues are higher, so on and so forth. All that can be entered, and accordingly it can be done for the housing and everything. So it can be built into a manner that we wish it to be, to a degree.
Yeah,
So
especially the
idea-wise,
previous, especially the previous screens, the case management and all. So it was exactly visualizing the way the current EMR, EHR, and the practice management system, not a property management system, practice management system, which refers to. So that is clearly syncing up. So I think those were the features, and especially the calendar scheduling appointment features is what I was looking for. So that is coming out well. So the chat, of course, that channel is good. In that, maybe again for the interest of time, the next 15 minutes, if we can see the features related to the document management thing, because as you know, when we are reviewing the cases, there are so many documents will come in. So how will it can handle the documents, intake the patient documents, processing the processing the documents, and adding the document which is coming in from other channels, for example, coming from the pharmacy, coming from the laboratory, coming from the other physicians who has added the nurse notes and all. Basically that's a use case, but again, how the documents are managed, if we spend next 15 minutes, that would be a complete cycle of features what we are looking at as well.
document management is, I would say, and I've been very honest, is sort of the weak point within our solution. So because we don't have a document management as such, but what we do have is that within the system, because we look at it as a case entered the organization, it may enter as an appointment, it may enter as a call, it may enter as a back office work to you. Once that has been brought in, it becomes a work list, just going by the thought. The work gets prioritized and allocated. Okay. Once it is allocated to someone, the case starts. Can I attach work in this? Is the question from my perspective. Okay.
Right.
That attachments are part of it.
No, ideally it's not required. The reason why I was putting it is when we are tracking this workflow, we may not be taking it, because definitely the health systems will not allow us to take the patient information into any other solution. I'm not looking at that features. What I'm looking at is, let's say for example, I wanted to do an abstract, let's say on the workflow tool itself, when I'm deploying Verint solution on top of it, let's say I wanted to launch another window which has been dealing with the document management system. I just need an overlapping screen where it will help me to launch that application. Of course, it will just for an agent it will look like it's the same screen, but ideally he will be accessing that particular login and application. And if any abstraction has to be done, so that's something the system should allow to take the copy paste of the information, or adding some information. Otherwise, that kind of a feature is what I'm looking at. Because definitely that end-to-end document integration nobody will allow, which everybody is aware of. I'm okay with that.
Right. So you can have what we call as the term we use is iframing.
Mhm.
Iframing primarily means if I go to attachments, attachments will not be a screen. It will be embedded screen of the other application in it. It is just a render.
Right.
We have no control on it because what we have defined as a work for the employee is पहले summary डालो, enter customer information, tell it the action points which are required. You have any notes? If not, go to attachments. When I click on attachments, the screen will not be mine. It will be an embedded page. No information. If it is green screen or whatever it is, I will see it. I will see the information, but the information will not be transacted within this system. But that also means I cannot do copy paste. Does that answer?
Makes sense. Yep. Yep.
The only way the data can be brought in such, and the governance and the control is, the only way that data can be brought in is if APIs allow it, which means it becomes contractual with the customer, it is allowed by the customer, and there is a signed SLA behind. Otherwise, it will only be an embedded page. Make sense?
Makes sense. Absolutely.
I had actually a demonstration of that, quasi demonstration of that, if you allow me 5 minutes for that.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Because it's a quasi demo, I'm just trying to see if I have that. Yes, I have that. Please let me know if you can see this.
I could.
Okay, quasi demo on. Insurance page of a organization. As you log in, this is my knowledge pod. It's generally telling me what are the auto coverages, etc., which can be provided, right? But I'm David Campbell. I'm going to log in. I log in. It tells me what is my current status. Why can't we allow our customers or the clients or the, you may say, patients to know the status of their cases and where they are, especially on the payer side. And when I log in, based on my personal case, which is going on, the help on the right-hand side has changed. What is the help? My policy is active, but I have not received my copy of my certificate, so and so forth, because this is what this case is about. We are trying to terminate the case on the website itself. We want as much self-help information available. This is something which is available to agent, but why not to the customer? What is stopping us? So this becomes rendered over there. Now I can call up the person and say, "Oh, nahi yaar, this is not sorting my problem. I'm going to get in touch." I look at the insurance, Life Insurance Australia. I see the video. This is knowledge management bit of it. So the person can work out. Person says, "Here is a feedback. This video doesn't make sense to me. Allow me to talk to someone." It says, "Okay, what are you calling for?" I say, "I'm calling for claims." And then I give it the previous claim number, and the call goes in, lands up on the agent side. Okay. On the agent side, I see whatever I see, then I log in. Remember the work list that I was talking about. Work list comes in here, all gets. Now, these are possibilities that I was talking about. We can do a voice authentication, not required for patient. मेरे जैसा आदमी है तो हर रोज आवाज बदलती है. You heard me when I was there, and now you hear me today. I don't know what is wrong with my throat, but that's what happens to me. And you will not be able to use it. Especially if a person is sick, nasal cavity changes, you can't identify. But that's a possibility. I reach here, it says the SLA is breached. Why is the SLA breached? Because बंदा 4 दिन से chase कर रहा है. आपने call जल्दी उठा लिया, doesn't matter. It also says there is a policy expiration which is happening. It is piecing those information together, which is important for the employee to take action. It says the person is a corporate customer, but also has a spend increase, which is possible, and has a positive sentiment, which is not too great actually. It's amber. It should have been green. And I see he has 2 types of policies with us. It also gives me next best action on it, if you need. That's not essential actually. And the knowledge which is suggested is policy expiration notification, because it can read here. It also says new breakdown of auto policy premiums, because that's what the individual has with us. Knowledge points are provided before asking for it.
So these configurations, I can do it for my patient health or a patient sentiment, emotions, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I dive into it, I wanted to know actually for policy and injury. And then I get the help on auto insurance cover, process a claim. The process a complaint is a script. What the individual should say, what the individual should ask and fill in the system for process claim. So that becomes a script. Anyways, going further, I can enter the case. I see the SLA breached. I had a recent contract, policy expiration is there. I can also do speech analytics on it, mine the entire call. So transcript bana ke we can keep it. The later on the registers, our speech analytics engine can mine this information ki kis tarah ka call aata hai, kya sentiment and larger scale. Again, add on. Then of course I can finish. I can say the person had looked at our knowledge. He had contacted us. He has done this information. This is his, life insurance Australia he had seen. I can co-browse with the individual if required. And I can give a feedback. This knowledge actually sucks. The poor person has not been able to process. Now I'm pending repair status. The person has been saying why the case basically, if I explain everything is, I'm saying why is my repair pending? And the answer was the policy had expired, but I filed a case 2 days prior to the policy expired. Now your policy has expired. Why is my case held up? I filed it right in time. So it says pending repair. The case, this is where the case is stuck. And I want to see the attachments. The picture is there. This is your iframing. There's no picture in the system. This could be the iframe of the other page system where this render is coming from. And then I have what you call as policy expiration. And I can basically go down the path and say, okay, Mr. Campbell, I'm sharing this information with you. And can you please give me the entire details and I will process and close this for you. Email has been sent or the conversation has been closed. The case has now progressed. I can see the relevant points added into the code notes now. And I say I'm now closing this particular conversation. Yes. Entire part of every piece of work that I've done has been tracked for time. And that's how the productivity is measured as well. And that's how my remember the dashboard of my KPIs comes about.
Right.
And of course, within the system, I can also look at knowledge in greater detail. I can see the call assessments, the speech analytics pages. I can see all of that within this.
Awesome. So this email piece, which you were showing, Sunil. So will that be the kind of another which requires an integration with any Outlook or something, or this could be a feature which has been built in the tool?
Outlook is definitely required at the back. This is the, would say, the routing engine
interface, the layer.
Because Outlook does nothing.
Because this is one of the important channel. If you remember the conversation when we were having, there is one important mode how the patient service center agent who's responding to the customer who's closing the conversation is the significant channel is emails today. Even though irrespective of the tools and all these things comes in, people will still prefer an email so that they can go back and verify and the Active Directory and all has been configured. So that's an important feature I'm looking for. Yeah, I think pretty much we covered.
Email has one more thing to it, which is email also has what you may term as templates in it. so that when you
Templates,
respond to it, there are templates which have come into action. Those templates allow us to, and they can be very role specific. There are many routing engine points within that email as well. Based on the subject line in the email, it can do the routing. That kind of
to
work.
get router. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we are on top of the hour, Sunil. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Bhaskaran, your voice paused, or is it my signal? Bala?
Yeah. Yeah.
It got
So
paused from
what would be
Bhaskaran's
our?
side.
Yeah. So yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, now you are.
Okay. Fine. There was some latency and it goes. I'm in Nagpur actually, so I came to
Oh,
visit
okay.
the head office. So
Okay.
I'm connected from my personal network because we have a different set of because Hyderabad is in SEZ zone and the network setups are totally different. And Nagpur we have our own office, so it's like a 23-year-old office. So the
Wow.
network setup and all is little different. So that's the thing we are making. So what would be the next steps, Bala, Sunil? How do we take this forward? Of course, we are good with the technical features and other things. What would be the next steps in terms of the relationship, like building the NDA or business associate agreement or POC? What would be the next steps?
I think first of all, we still have to create what you may call as a requirement frame. Okay,
Right,
because right now, I would still say we are doing a broad brush.
right.
So we define a framework that these are the items we will cover. We will cover the
Mhm.
patient arrival. That is a module, may or may not, because not all
Right.
your customers will. Then
True.
comes the engagement module. Engagement module is about which channels are coming in. We identify the number of channels. Uh, if the channel is coming in as only back office integration, or is it coming in as a flat file to you, or is it chat, email, and back office and call, then what those are,
Right.
because the price changes accordingly.
True. True.
Then we
Makes sense.
also do a sizing on how many licenses do we think required. ये मैंने आपको important criteria बताया था. The reason
Right.
being, if it is too small, then the price points do not make sense. The ROI doesn't make
Makes
sense
sense.
unless your customer sees this as a transformation.
True.
Because the cost of transformation is not compared to ROI. होता ही नहीं.
Hmm.
And once that is built up, business case we put up, then we go in, इसका pilot लगाना है. यदि business case
Makes
ही नहीं
sense.
बनता है, touch wood, of course it will be there, but नहीं बनता है, तो what do? It's very good, very fancy. Let's make it practical. So you will choose the practical and say, just give me email. With case CRM on it, we will add the other channels later. Or we start with the
Absolutely.
case management, we add other pieces later. वो हम framework बना सकते हैं.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense, Sunil. So I'll. Do you have any specific formats where you collect the requirements in the past? So if you could share that, I will try to come up with that modularized because I have my own formats that may or may not give the right information with the way we wanted to consume. So if you could share that format, I'll spend some time and then get back to you with that modular, and maybe that could be our next step with something we can target in a week's time, maybe.
ठीक है जी.